and one for the intelligent as fellas get. Listen, let's settle this. Be clear, I can fall back 7 years, still it ain't no one ahead of me. Consider it a blessing if you get to stand next to me. 5-star general, OG veteran, cake like.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. Gonna be a little quiet because Erin went to bed now, so I don't want to wake her up. It's just to get up early in the morning, and tomorrow's Tuesday. It's usually her on-call day, so she's pretty jacked up all Tuesday. So I got a bunch of questions in my emails. It was actually flooded, and I don't know why people think why they equate me to this, because fucking, anyways. So Matt Ogus had his show, and I've been following along just like everyone else. I am a fan of Matt Ogus. I've met him several times. I've hung out with him. Always a pleasant guy. Always good to see him and Yucky Lovato both. And, it was Matt and Yucky that actually had the first piece of advice for me over anyone back in, I think, 2011 or 2012, I think it was, at the Arnold. We rode the bus with them to get to the parking lot at the Arnold. They were sitting behind us, and we were talking to them. And, they actually, they're a lot younger than I am, the young guys, but they had a lot of very kind of high wisdom things to say for their age. So I respect the guys and I like them. Now, that being said, Matt really tightened up his prep this year. He looked better than ever. He was probably in shape like 5 or 6 weeks out. I mean, it was like, holy fuck, this kid's going to slaughter everybody. I mean, that's what I honestly thought. I said, he's fucking got his formula. And what I really liked about watching Matt's last journey up to this show was he was doing things that, he thought would work better. And then you'd see him change it and go back to something else. Just because it was planned, he didn't stick to it. He would arrange things so he'd say, this was working better, I'm going to go back. He was trying different things in moving the pieces of his prep to get it to fit and get it to work, so that he was really custom tailoring shit to his own physique and body chemistry for that prep. Like, you could really see the maturity coming out in his training and his diet and everything that, his Ogus pyramid, all this stuff, and really customizing things rather than doing some generic thing like I lift like this, I eat like this. Like, he was really nailing things down, and he found a way to make the Chipotle bowl at home so that he can control his macros even better. Like, he was really dialing stuff in. And then a couple days out, I noticed he was putting out pictures and he looked a little flat. Like, that pop and graininess, excuse me, was no longer there. And I know that he had the graininess because I saw it in videos. So it wasn't like he was photoshopping photos. It was there. And then I watched a video of him saying he needed to make weight. He needed to weigh, I think it was 165 or whatever the case may be. And that's when I said, oh, fuck. One of two things is going to happen here. Either he's going to be not depleted enough and suck down a weight and then look really fucking insane. Like, just he shows up and they go, first place, everybody move over to the side. Fuck, we'll judge everybody else. Or he's going to fucking overshoot that body weight. And it's very hard. Like, let's say you have to hit 165 and you're 167. It's very hard to drop just that 3 pounds and hit it. You're going to drop 4 or 5. Sometimes it goes beyond it. Then you try to fill out and it doesn't work. So you overshoot, over deplete, and there's not enough time for the body to fill out. And I've done this myself in the past, but mine was due to diuretic use. I wasn't trying to make weight. I was trying to cut with diuretics. And you flatten out to the point where your body's so depleted, it will not fucking fill up. It takes days of junk food, days of binging, just to look fucking normal again. And, excuse me, as soon as he weighed in, he made weight. And he was like in his sweats and stuff, and you could tell his face didn't have that same sucked out look. And then he chugged a thing of Pedialyte and ate a meal like in a restaurant. And even adding that food into his body wasn't enough to fill him out to where he needed to be. And I do feel like he was too depleted, and making weight was the decision that brought him from looking his best he's ever been to missing the mark. I've seen this plenty of times. There's lots of guys who are like, I'm going to cut weight. I'm going to use a sauna. I'm going to go run up and down the stairs. You cut the weight and you don't look right on stage. That's just fucking how it goes, like 9 out of 10 times. Very rarely does anybody ever cut that weight and nail it. Usually if you have to cut that weight, you've cut that weight beforehand. Excuse me, allergies are killing me. And you don't have to make that drastic cut at the end to lose that few pounds, because by the time you get to the end, 3 pounds is drastic because you're so depleted. You don't really have it to lose. So you're trying to pull water, and I mean, he was so dry already between his skin, the water was coming out of the muscle. He was pulling more water out of the muscle, which was having a hard time filling back up. So at this point, there's not much you can do. You've done everything you can do. You carved up as much as you can do. You replaced electrolytes. You did everything you could do. At this point, you just hope the body responds to what it wants to do. And the fact that he was ready so far out, I do believe that it just pushed a little bit at the end to where he was too depleted, and probably, there's going to be like a spring back or a slingshot effect where, he fills out a lot later afterwards. Now, I remember, fuck me, talking to TJ Shoehorn, who was a national competitor at heavyweight. And he was a big motherfucker. This guy was really big. And he tried to make heavyweights at 225. So he didn't have any food for like a day or two leading up to the show. Didn't have any water for like a full fucking day and a half. You know, and then as soon as he weighed in, he went back to the hotel and ate nonstop. Got to the show the next day. Stomach was all distended. I mean, he looked good. He filled out a little bit, but he wasn't really grainy, hard, dry, like you think he would be. And that is from being so depleted. So, you know, in hindsight, you know, I think personally, my personal opinion, and I've done this before, I remember I cut to the light heavyweights at the Pittsburgh one year and I used a diuretic, which was a mistake. I was listening to people that I shouldn't have been listening to. And I progressively got worse leading up to the last couple of days of the show. A week out, I thought I looked my best. The night before, I was like, something is wrong. And then I got, well, we'll just eat pancakes in the morning. We'll fill up and eat syrup and fuck. And I did all that shit, and I just kept looking worse and worse and worse. And it wasn't until 3 or 4 days afterwards that I actually looked normal again. I was like, fuck, whatever. I missed that mark. I tried to suck down too much. So what I did, the following show was 2 weeks later. And I decided to do my own prep. And I said, I'm going to stay the fuck away from the scale. I'm not going to try to make any weights. I'm going to go by what I see in the mirror. I'm not going to play with the diuretics. What I'm going to do is just go by what I see in the mirror and fucking do what I do. And that's going to be it. I rebounded. I got to where I needed to be. I thought, okay, this is where I need to be. And I'm looking in the mirror and I'm making adjustments. The day of the show, I walk up and I step on the scale. 198 and a quarter is the cutoff for light heavyweights. I was 199 and a half. And, you know, I looked at the guy. It was Todd Howe, as a matter of fact, who's the head judge for a lot of our shows in Maryland and D.C. And he looks at me and says, do you want to try to lose it? And at that split moment, I knew if I try to lose that little bit of weight to make the light heavyweights, I'm not going to look the way I do right now. I said, no, I will take the heavyweight division. I'm giving up 26 fucking pounds to these other guys who are shorter than me. I said, I'll take the heavyweights. And he just looked at me and smiled because it was a ballsy move, and most people would cut the weight. And he said, he looked me right in the eye, and that was kind of at the beginning of mine and his friendship. He said, I always say, go where you look good and don't go by the scale. When I stepped on stage that day, or the following day at that show, I weighed 199 pounds. The one closest to me was 212. I stood on stage, and because of my conditioning, which I feel was one of my best looks ever as far as fullness, I was very full. I'm not going to lie, I did put synthol in my rear delts to give them a fuller look. When I stepped on stage, you couldn't tell I was 199. Everybody thought I was in the 220s. Standing there because of my condition, because of my shape, because of the fullness I had from the carbs and the synthol, the fact that I didn't suck the weight and get too depleted. And I walked away knowing to never be scared of the heavier weight class ever again, because I banged heads with all those guys. And guess what? I came in second place. I beat all those guys and came in second place in that division. And I was scared of going to the heavyweights because I would be the smallest one there. But it really didn't fucking matter. I went in where I looked good. I banged heads with them. I walked out with a national qualification, placing second place in the heavies, which is where I was scared to compete to begin with, knowing from now on, whether I make the light heavies or make the heavies, it doesn't really matter. Just go in where I look good. And wherever I look my best, that's where I'm going to be my most competitive. And I think that's a mistake a lot of guys make. I have a guy who won his pro card in the bantamweights, Richard Siegelman. We got him down to bantamweight because I knew the lightweights would be too big for him to compete with on his frame. And his back was so big and he was so tight that I was like, we need to get you down to bantam. Will you be the biggest bantam? Well, it took us a lot to get him down there, but we were able to get him down and start feeding him back up to where he was nice and full for the show, but he made weight about a week and a half out. So we were able to adjust and not do anything drastic. And he wound up winning with straight first place votes and winning his pro card, becoming an IFBB pro as a bantamweight. So be aware, guys, just because you're shredded a week out, 2 weeks out, doesn't mean if you do something that lasts 24 hours or 48 hours that you could completely ruin everything that you've done. And, it's great because Matt chronicled this stuff all along. So we know what he looked like coming into the show. We know what he looked like at the show. So it's not like one of those guys that are like, oh, I look better 2 weeks out, I look better a day after. Like, we saw him. We saw him going up, and I was like, holy shit. And, I was getting messages from people like, have you seen Matt sing? I said, yeah, I'm watching the thing. It's incredible. The kid looks incredible. And, I just step back and I'm like, it sucks that shit like that happens. Like, you start making those adjustments at the end. My personal opinion is if Matt went in exactly how he was when he was in peak condition without any water manipulation, no fiber manipulation, no fucking carb thing, no, like just doing what he did and rode into that show, I personally think he would have beat that other guy. I think he was drier and harder than the other guy like a week or two out. And I think he would have fucking won that show. But, it's here or there and people make mistakes. And I'm sure he's going to learn from it. And I'm sure he got a fucking notebook he wrote shit in that, he'll figure it out. But BioStreetTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.BioStreetTraining.com is a blog. It's that last fucking 2 days bicep can fuck you up, and we're out.